Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining our first podcast here for the Golden House podcast. We're so excited to get this going. This is just a chance for us to connect with everybody in the community, everybody that supports us, anybody that wants to get to know a little bit more about Golden House. My name is John. Just to get us started, I've got Chris joining me here. Chris, if you want to say hi. Thanks, Chris.
Hey, everyone out there.
All right, we're going to do our introductions here in just a few minutes, but really to get us started, wanted to focus right on our core, talk a little bit about Golden House, about this podcast, why we're doing it. I mentioned a couple of things there. Is super excited to do this again. Just another point for us to connect to all of those in the community. So much support that we get, and we get a lot of questions though. What's going on at Golden House? What's coming up, what events, where can you use some help, all things that come in on a regular basis. So we thought, hey, let's start a podcast, put some things out there, make it easy for everybody to find some information. So we're going to start out. I'm going to kind of introduce Golden House. If maybe you caught this podcast and you don't know too much about Golden House or somebody referred you here, I want to give a little bit of background as a first step here for really the way I describe it, not I guess our official model, but Golden House is really all things domestic violence. And we serve people and organizations and individuals all throughout Brown County. And I'll mention what I mean by organizations because that catches some people off guard. We think first, or a lot of folks think first of the shelter that we have for Golden House. And that's a big part of what we do. We'll talk about that as well a little bit, but it's not just that. Golden House has a lot more going on and a lot of involvement in the community. Some of those things, just a rundown, kind of, again, an introduction of it. Certainly provide that temporary shelter, also providing counseling as well. We have 24-hour help though. So whether that's at that shelter or a hotline to call in, 24 hours a day, people available for those that need it around domestic violence. We also get involved in helping legal assistance around restraining orders. But where we go beyond that, we have support groups that go on in the shelter in our location. We have also a lot of prevention, education, and outreach programs. So those involve working with companies and working with some of the local schools and colleges and things like that. So trying to not only help those who are victims of domestic violence, but also being able to help educate and prevention, which would be the ultimate goal of Golden House, which is really to stop domestic violence in our community. So hopefully that helps give an information or a little bit more information. I'm going to mention this a couple of times. We have our website, which is goldenhousegb.org. So if you ever want more information, there's contact information. You might be watching this podcast probably right there if you didn't find it on YouTube. So, feel free to surf around the site, or if you're not there, go ahead and check that out for a lot of opportunities for information and sharing and connection there. So let's switch gears. So I actually asked Chris a few weeks ago, maybe, hey, you want to join me on a podcast? And Chris said he couldn't wait to join me, right, Chris?
Yeah, I was absolutely thrilled for the opportunity, and I got a chance to learn more about the Golden House through my current employer, Schreiber, as we did a program together where we had a meeting around conversations with the cop. And it just really enlightened me and opened my eyes to a lot about the Golden House that I wasn't aware of. And I was thrilled for the opportunity to partner with you, John, based on our relationship and friendship as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you again. So then Chris said, well, what are we going to cover on this podcast, though, right? So I want to give a little bit of outlay. It'll change a little bit. We want this to not be a formal event of something going on, but want to be, that chance to connect. So we did kind of lay this out, though, to make sure we had a couple of core sections in the podcast that you can look for. And we plan to do this on a monthly occurrence here. So one of the core things is we want to share a little bit of information about Golden House, about the current events. We're going to do a little bit more of that. In part, kind of gave a little bit of information starting here about Golden House as a whole. But over time, we want to share, again, some of those events that are coming up, some of the volunteer opportunities, things like that. So sharing some of that current information with, again, all the great supporters that we have in the community was one of our goals. Another one was to also share kind of a domestic violence topic. And we're going to kind of skip that one in this first podcast just for time's sake as we introduce the podcast and have some introductions here and things like that. So we're going to, kind of skip that the first one, but we're going to have a section in here where we bring in somebody from our Golden House staff and allow them to give us a little bit of education on a current topic, maybe a theme for the month, or something that's maybe going on in the news or the domestic violence world and the legal front, things like that. So we want to share some of that, kind of enlighten everybody that, again, as a supporter, may not hear some of those things. A lot of those things don't make the news, but there is a ton of work and great things that our staff and team at Golden House do to help those throughout the community with domestic violence that goes, again, beyond the shelter side of it. So we want to share some of those things as well. We are going to spend each month just a little bit of time getting to know some of our board members. And part of that reason is to kind of thank our board members. It's all volunteer on our board. Everybody is volunteering their time and their expertise to come and help lend their information and knowledge and everything that goes into running the organization with Golden House from a board perspective. So we want to thank them for doing that. It also gives us a chance for anybody that's interested in, what does it mean to be on the board? What does it mean to be on some of the committees? What does that look like? If you're interested, kind of give you a little behind the scenes discussion about it for part of it. And again, just have a little fun to get to know those who support. Maybe you know somebody that's on the board already, or, there's kind of a second degree connection there. Gives a chance to connect with people in the community. And that's really the biggest theme overlying all of this is just another point to connect, to get some information about Golden House. And again, meet some of the folks involved. Here is, as hosts, Chris and I do a little bit of introductions here. We're not going to spend as much time as the board member spotlight here. I want to give Chris a chance, and then I'll give a little bit of my background. I did ask Chris to join me, and a big reason I've gotten to know Chris over the years. I'm pretty sure we met at the Y. Playing basketball. So we spent a lot of hours in the gym playing basketball. Basketball for a lot of us guys in the morning, it's kind of like a guy support group almost, if you will, right? So you get to know people, you know what's going on. Somebody's having a bad day, we can kind of let it out on the court and be there for people though. And it goes beyond that. We've made, a lot of friends through basketball and kind of spreading beyond that. But I've gotten to know Chris that way through that connection, and just know that he's been really awesome in the community, really great at getting to know people, and I think is a great fit here for this podcast and our board member spotlight and kind of interacting with everybody and really bringing out the best in people. So I'm happy that Chris was joining me. Chris, would you mind kind of giving a little bit of your background and share with folks here to get to know you?
Yeah, absolutely, John. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this. You and I we met back in 2014 on the basketball court at the YMCA, and kind of been friends since then. I think what you spoke about, the social aspect of me getting to know people and asking questions and being inquisitive, it really fits in for something like this because I am very, very passionate about giving back and very, very passionate about helping in any aspect of life. So it's definitely fitting.
I can't believe you remember the year, so that just impresses me there alone. So.
No doubt.
So Chris, you have an involvement with some other organizations. I know you do a lot of good in the community. Do you want to speak a little bit about that too, just to give a little plug on some of the other things that you're doing too?
Absolutely. So I've been involved with the group since about 2018-ish, and it's called Brothers Breakfast. I did start the group here in Green Bay, and the whole goal was to mentor young men and help people that are stuck kind of find their way. And so we started off as a group of just two, me mentoring and pouring into one individual. And now fast forward to, 2024, we are 8 men strong. We have a board. We've finalized for our 501(c), and we are very passionate about helping in the community. So we try to do 4 to 5 events every year. One is a turkey giveaway, which we just finished up in November. We also do a backpack giveaway over the summer, and then we do a couple different odd end things in between. So, like I said, part of it is helping, being intentional. Another piece of it is mentoring and taking young men that maybe just don't know what their next phase of life is or what they should be doing to kind of get them on an organized track. And then it's pouring into the community where we see a need, we just go help. And self-funded up until this year. Now that we're a 501c, we'll be, applying for some grants and some help. And over the last 4 years, we've had a lot of people help, even in our basketball group. We said, hey, we're going to raise some funds to donate some turkeys. And it's been great to see guys that we share the basketball court with also share the passion of helping right here in the Green Bay community. And then the second piece is I work for Schreiber Foods, which is a blessing in itself. So part of what we stand for is we do good through food. So we help people. We have a whole week of giving that we like to highlight and go out and globally have an impact on the world and the communities where our employees are living and working and thriving in. And that's just a super refreshing piece of my next chapter of my career.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. Over the podcast here and the different episodes that come up, I'm sure we'll get to know you a little bit more myself, and as we connect with some of the board members here and share information too. So thanks for that. I'll introduce myself here before we kind of get into the business as well here of the podcast. So my name is John Kirsch, and I am the current president at Golden House, or on the board of directors. So super excited to start that role for the year. I'm also part of the Fund Development Committee, which is a big part of starting this podcast up. In addition, I'm a consultant, so I work at SA Global. It's a international firm that is a Microsoft partner. So we do all things Microsoft. I do a lot in ERP and accounting software, and a little bit of other technology as well. So kind of that in a nutshell. As well as Chris and I both have families too, so we stay pretty busy. I have 5 kids. Chris has 3, right, Chris? So I think a lot of our hobbies involve our kids and what they're doing. So keeps us young, right?
Correct.
Let's jump into a couple of the information about Golden House. As we talked about the format here, we want to share a little bit of information. And one of the most common questions we get is, what can I do right now? What can I volunteer? What do you need help with? If there's ever a question about it, let's just say we can almost always use some sort of help and support and things going on. I want to point out again, I mentioned earlier, goldenhousegb.org is our website. So there is a get involved, and there's a list there for volunteer opportunities. There's an application out there where you can fill out. It's kind of the start of getting involved. I don't think we always have like all of the opportunities listed there, but again, we have so many needs. Our community is so great at stepping up where we have them. I'm going to mention a couple of those here, but it does take a lot of support. What I didn't mention at the beginning, and I actually wanted to before, just thinking of it, again, if you're not familiar with Golden House, the services for those affected by domestic violence are free. So if you didn't know that, or weren't ever affected by that, or ever see that, when people sometimes the most needed services, shelter, safety, food, at the most needed time are completely free for those that need it. So it's just an incredible gift to be able to give to somebody in a difficult time. That does mean there's a lot of need for volunteers and community support and things like that. The current list right now that I was kind of given here to look at, so there's needs for childcare, for cooking a meal at the shelter, some event support as we'll mention some of those things coming up when we have events, and can always use help with those. And fundraising goes along with that, administrative support, some outdoor and indoor maintenance. So if you have a group, I've seen this a number of times. I've done it myself, come with a group of coworkers and, hey, do you have, spring cleanup to do outside? Or, I guess we can think about spring already now, maybe, right? But, some of those things that work really well with a group just to kind of get a project done too. Another one is teaching life skills. Golden House, again, going beyond the domestic violence, helping with resume building, budgeting, things like that. If that's something you really know and are good at and want to share that talent, certainly opportunities to do so. So Again, if you're interested, check out the website, fill out a form. Somebody will get in contact with you and kind of figure out where that fit could be. So we really appreciate all of those that help out. And similar, one other thing I want to point out, supply needs. So we do have this on our website as well. It's part of our some of our emailing, our newsletters, but there is need for supplies, again, providing free services. We do look for new supplies, just to be clear on that. There's other organizations in town that will take used things and be able to do good with those as well. Bedroom items right now in the new building, twin sheets, comforters, pillows, towels, washcloths, laundry baskets. Having a bigger facility now and new items really has a need for those. We also have a new large kitchen in there. It's incredible to have that for those in need. But that also means we could use a few more pots and pans and baking dishes and cookie sheets and those type of kitchen supplies. So a few things that go with the new building, as well as some toys, some toddler toys. Again, looking for new. There are many families that come and stay in the shelter, and it's really nice to have some comfort for the children that are in there. So again, thank you to everybody that has donated. Our website has more information and kind of the wish list out there. I don't know, Chris, are you aware? So coming up in February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. Have you ever heard that before?
I wasn't aware of that.
No, not surprising. I didn't either until I joined the board. But these are the types of things, that again, kind of events and things that come up throughout the calendar that we make sure to go beyond, again, just that domestic violence support after the fact. Is that education, it's that prevention piece that is so critical. Just wanted to mention that is coming up next month. So plans are in the works right now to go out to some schools and colleges and connect with the community and share some information on prevention about it. So that is a kind of a big one on our calendar every year. So that's coming up. A couple more things, the Phonathon, which is an annual event, usually around March or April each year. It's an event for us to, as board members and other volunteers, to come in and make calls to our donors and say thank you for the donations that you've done. And also a good chance, kind of that reminder, if you're looking to donate and make that donation around that time. So we really, really appreciate that chance to connect and also the donations that come in through that event. So that's April 13th. So if you've been a past donor, you'll get that reminder in the mail coming up pretty soon. But it's a fun time to be on the phone with our supporters and be able to chat for a little bit there. So I really think it's a fun event for us to go through. We're looking at amping it up a little bit this year in terms of having a little bit more event around it. So more to come. We'll share some more information over the next couple of months here. And then one other opportunity. So I'm so excited about the podcast again. If I haven't said that 18 times already, I'll say it a couple more. But there is a great opportunity if an individual or especially an organization is interested in getting involved in the podcast here. We've got some sponsorship opportunities here. Allow us to say thank you for sponsoring this. And help us put this on and make this a little bit better over time, as well as help support the Golden House funding. So if anybody is interested in sponsoring this, we can talk about the details. Again, I'm going to refer out to the website, goldenhousegb.org. And you can actually find me on the board member page. It'll email me directly. So if you want to reach out to me or Dina or one of the other team members here, any of us can get us connected and share some information. So would really appreciate that if anybody's interested in getting involved there. All right. So one more topic that I had on the list. I'm doing a lot of talking here, Chris. You can interrupt me if you need to. But the new building, so I've kind of alluded to that here. So Chris, have you drove down University and saw the new building there?
Got a glance at it, and it is beautiful. It's definitely beautiful.
Yeah. For us, being on the board over this transition time, it's just been remarkable to kind of see the transition from the old building to the new building. I will mention it's still in progress here. We're kind of finishing that up. So, if you've driven past it, anybody that has in the community here, you've seen, much larger space, which we were at capacity a majority of the time. So really needed to add space. We're finishing up all those little details, getting the building finished. The big thing is we're about 80% of the capital goal as well, though. So we are still working
Wow.
on those last donations. So as we finish up the last bit of the building here and start to use it, also don't want to lose track of thanking everybody that has donated so far. It's been incredible from the community support. And we just have that little bit more to go. I guess that's the 80-20 rule, right? The 80% and the last 20, it kind of needs a little bit more work to get over the edge. So if you're looking to get involved that way, there's certainly opportunities to help us get us across the finish line there on the capital campaign. So again, reach out through the website. There's actually a link to donate there directly if you're interested. And we also have on the page, though, a thank you to all of those that have been involved and donated to the capital campaign. And again, can't say thank you enough for everybody that's been involved in it. The construction was handled really, really well by all of the companies and organizations that we worked with. So such a great experience to be able to do that. We are now going to shift gears and move into our board member spotlight segment that I mentioned earlier. So for our first one, we're going to jump into the details, but I just want to introduce or reiterate the point that we wanted to, again, as part of connecting with the community and also thanking our board members who volunteer their time, wanted to have a little segment here where we share some information about the board members, get to know you a little bit, as well as kind of what it's like to be on the board or some of the things that happen being on the board at Golden House here. For this first podcast and first segment, I did personally ask Sarah. So Sarah Abel Kaufman is joining us here. And I asked Sarah if she would be our volunteer for the first one. And I thank you, Sarah, for saying yes. We'll ask you and let you introduce yourself here as well a little bit. But I asked you, as Sarah has just finished up her term as the president of Golden House, an extended term with the building and construction going on, with chairing the capital campaign and all the other activities that were going on during that time, the normal operations, as we would say, even though very unnormal, dealing with not having a building for a while and everything else. So I just think it's absolutely incredible. I mean, Sarah, you must be so proud. I think it's so awesome what, that looking back over, a 3-year span now for that time of what was all accomplished and, being the president and leading during that time is just an incredible accomplishment. So I thought it was most appropriate to ask you to be the spotlight on the first one here and get us a chance. Obviously, with all your experiences, be great to kind of go through this for the first time. So, Sarah, thank you for joining us. I guess I gave a little bit of an introduction, but if you wouldn't mind giving, kind of a little bit of your background and again, thank you for joining us here.
Awesome. Well, thank you, John, and thank you for being so complimentary. There was a large group of people that did so much work over the last few years. I served as the president of the board from 2020 through 2023, and during that time, of course, we had the changes in our operations with dealing with COVID, and since COVID, we've had domestic violence numbers increasing in our Brown County community significantly year over year. So when the building design group started their work, it was actually back in 2018 and 19. It took a lot of just energy and time from a large group of volunteers to design what was needed to support the shelter needs of the victims in our Brown County area. I chose to get involved with Golden House in the first place back in 2018. I'm actually a survivor of domestic violence myself and was referred to Golden House for an assessment during an episode at my home. and that was in 2014. But I decided at that time I would serve this awesome organization when I was able to. And so in 2018 is when I actually joined the board. And shortly after that, we got into the building, the design, the fundraising, and then ultimately the building project itself over the last year and a half. So it's pretty awesome to see the building completed, and it'll be really neat to see the first few years of operations in the new building.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I hear that you're on your last year, right, as a board
Mhm.
member. So for those that aren't aware, you can serve up to 2 consecutive 3-year terms. So we do have a 6-year, and then there's a rotation. You can come back after a period of time, but there's, kind of a good, healthy, time frame there to, to be able to serve and get to know the organization over that time, but then also kind of have new board members coming in. Thank you for that. Going on 6 years, a little bit farther than I am, but does it feel like, in one part for me, it feels like it's flown by, and then another part, it feels like I've been on the board forever. So I don't know how
Yeah,
to describe it sometimes.
right.
I think you and Chris also have a connection here with working. Do you mind sharing a little bit about your professional background as well, Sarah?
So so currently I'm in a change management role at Schreiber Foods, but I joined Schreiber Foods in 2018 as well. So 2018 was a big change year for me. Um, Before joining Schreiber, I have over 30 years of experience in manufacturing consulting, mainly in technology and lean manufacturing.
Sarah, can you maybe give us a little background on you, where you're from, maybe your journey from childhood to, fast forward to today?
Sure. So I grew up in the Fox Valley, just north of Little Chute, and went to college for accounting. I grew up in an awesome environment. I grew up next door to my grandfather's farm, so we had a lot of fun playing on the farm. I went to school for accounting and landed my first job in Minneapolis. So I spent 9 years in Minneapolis early in my career, and then moved back to Green Bay. And I worked, like I said, in a consulting role over the years, and then proceeded to um, work at Schreiber starting in 2018, and Golden House and the Golden House board in 2018. And this past summer, I got remarried to Jeff Kaufman, and he and I together have 5 adult children that live in various places around the country. So they keep us busy.
Wow, thank you for that background. And you have a movie. You have a full life movie for a story. So super interesting. And I'd love to dive into so many areas, but I guess if you had to give some sparkle of hope to someone to say, hey, as you're going through a difficult time like this, what did you do as a hobby or something to keep your mind busy when you were in the eye of the storm?
I I did a lot of walking and running outside by myself. That's when I talk to the Lord, is when I'm outside walking or running.
Mm.
And there's a book actually that I used as my counselor, and it's a book by Melody Beattie called The Language of Letting Go. And it's a super helpful book for people moving through any crisis in their life, or any crisis in a relationship standpoint.
Wow. Thank you for that, for sharing that. So the language of letting go, and then focusing on your faith and exercise, so your mental health, your wellness, and then also pouring in more good knowledge through books. Um, is there anything else that if you could go back to your younger self when you were going through that situation, that you would have said, hey, this is something you should have been more actionable about. This is something you could have did differently. Anything you could give advice to your younger self about?
I probably could have reached out to other people more than I did. I pretty much closed the shutters and isolated myself, I think, as I went through it. And I think it is when I help other people through this journey, I encourage them to share some of it with at least some of their friends and family if they're able to.
That's key. So I coach youth sports, and one of the things we always constantly talk about is communication. And it starts as little communication, just giving someone a heads up. But that just resonates with me in so many different realms that, when you're talking about things you're going through, and you have a village and support, it starts to make them a little bit more digestible, and you start to figure out solutions for them. So thank you for sharing that, for sure. John, you want to jump in with the next question?
Maybe we'll switch gears a little bit, but we like to get to know you at a little bit different levels here. You talked about you grew up in the area, right? Then, so
Mhm.
do you have a favorite childhood memory, or when I say that, something that jumps into your mind that was fun as a kid growing up around the area here?
I was an outdoor tomboy, so we were able. My dad, we were allowed to ride mini bikes and snowmobiles and just have all kinds of fun outside that we really enjoyed.
Yeah, that's I guess maybe I'll say our age, right? But we talk about being outside a lot more versus electronics and things like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of think of the same thing. I don't know if one thing jumps out, but I get it. That makes sense to me. Um, what about a vacation or kind of a destination? Do you go up to Alaska and do a cruise, or do you go to a beach, or where do you go to relax if you can kind of pick a place?
Pretty much anywhere where you can do like a lot of walking, walking tours and scenery and enjoy local food. So it's pretty much, I'm pretty easy to please from that standpoint.
Hey, that's good.
I have a question, John.
Yep, go ahead.
Sarah, so from a professional standpoint, can you maybe give us one of your accolades or awards, or one of your moments that you're most proud of from a professional standpoint?
Uh, I don't know if it's any one point in time, but it's always satisfying to me when I see a team that's struggling to align themselves or to make progress because they're stuck on something, whether it's something emotional or if there's a piece of technology that they're not understanding. But it's very satisfying when I'm able to help a team uh, take their next step forward to wherever they're trying to get from point A to point B. So that's how I get my daily, weekly jam. Yes.
Well, only fitting that you're in change management then, right? That's probably why you're in the right role.
All right. Can we ask a couple of questions about Golden House then? I mentioned already that you're finishing up the president role, but can you share some of the committees that you've served on, and maybe some of the activities, just for those kind of listening in, just a little bit of kind of what it's like to be on a committee or board with Golden House, and some of the events that happen around that.
Hmm. A couple things. One is the one of the committees I was involved with at Golden House is the Show of Strength, and that's the biggest annual fundraiser event for Golden House. And it usually involves having guest speakers who are in some way, shape, or form associated with domestic violence, either a victim or a family of a victim. Um, so that's a big event every year. But one of the things about being on the board that I found most fascinating is when I joined the board, I really knew very little about Golden House. And I think it's interesting, and even I work with people in my neighborhood and at Schreiber, people who are facing this in their own homes, um, what their next step is. And Golden House serves so many clients outside of just the shelter clients. So the clients that live in our shelter are the clients where their life is perhaps at risk if they were to encounter their perpetrator, um, or their safety level is at high risk for some reason. So Golden House serves a lot of people in the community through rapid rehousing, helping people get on their own feet with their own apartment and their own job. And we might help give them grocery cards or gas cards, and they can come to Golden House to do their laundry and get counseling and work with our children's psychologist. So what I learned about Golden House is that it's really a whole community of people helping those impacted by domestic violence. But the shelter piece of it is actually quite small compared to all the things that Golden House actually does.
Yeah, thanks. That you just covered more than I did mentioning the intro to the podcast, but that's one of the big reasons we wanted to start this and share information is that, if you're not looking for information, obviously it's, not always easy to find, but there's so much involvement going on. And I appreciate that kind of overview of a lot of the services that are done through Golden House here. So really appreciate that. Are there other nonprofits that you've been involved with in the area as well?
Not formally, as my kids went through school and such, I was involved with, school and things like that, school activities. But this is the first formal board role that I've ever played.
So is it something that you would recommend to someone that wants to get involved and help kind of stretch themselves as a board member for a nonprofit?
Absolutely. Whether it's Golden House or one of the other nonprofits in Green Bay, there's so many awesome ones in Green Bay, but it's really an eye-opening experience as far as the number of people volunteering to keep our community healthy.
But we can't let you go just yet. So we've got a little fun segment that you don't get to preview these questions, but we're gonna have you pick a few numbers. Don't worry, they're fun questions. Can you pick? Let's just start with one. We'll do a number between 1 and 39. So you get to choose your own question here that we're gonna ask you.
28.
28. All right. Let's see. All right. What song or songs are on your hype playlist? So maybe when you're going out for a run or something.
Oh, the theme song to now I have a mind block. The dun 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 dun.
Rocky.
Is it Rocky?
Yeah.
The Rocky theme
Yeah.
song?
As soon as she said that, I knew it was Rocky.
I was gonna, I just wanted to not sway the answer to the question, but that's probably a pretty popular one. Any other ones that come to mind, or we'll stick with Rocky?
Yeah, probably stick with that one. I have some old running playlists that are pretty crazy, but yes.
All right, sounds good. Let's do a couple more. If you want to pick another number.
About 23.
23.
Jordan.
Oh, this is a good one too. I really like this one. So
I like this one too.
If you can pick 3 people, anybody over the course of time, history, whatever, pick 3 people that you could have dinner with, who would that be?
People that I know, you mean? Or
It could
anyone.
be anybody
Anybody.
in all of time and
Oh.
history, and it's
Oh,
wide
let's see.
open for you to pick.
Oh boy, there's a lot of people. Well, Melody Beattie, I would enjoy having dinner with her, the author of the book. My grandpa, if he could come back alive, he would
good
be a
one.
good person to have dinner with. Oh boy.
Who gets the last spot at the table?
Maybe Sandra Bullock.
I have a question if I can jump into, John.
Sure.
So I talked about, you giving your story and tell us a little bit about your timeline and this thinking movie. So what actor would play you in a movie about your life? And you kind of pulled up an actress, so
Maybe
Wondering who
Jodie
you would have.
Foster.
Jodie Foster. I could see it. I could see it.
All right, let's squeeze in one more. We got time for one more fun question here. You want to grab one more number just to make this
How about
random?
19?
19. You literally just picked the question that Chris
See?
asked.
It worked out. It worked out.
So I guess we have it covered then. It was what actor or actress would play you in a movie about your life. So
There you
wow,
go.
that is I don't even know. That's uncanny, I guess, to pick that out. So all right. Yeah, I want to say thank you again, Sarah, as we kind of wrap up this episode of the podcast and the spotlight portion of it here. We want to ask for each one of the board members, though, too, as we wrap up, if there's any kind of personal message you'd want to share, just maybe a philosophy or something that means something in your life, or just share something about Golden House and your time serving. So if you have any kind of personal message to share, give you a chance to go ahead and do that now.
I think one of the biggest things is, and as I help people, especially even over the last few weeks, I was helping a few people, is to help people see that, like, to call Golden House's helpline or hotline, it doesn't have to be an emergency. Golden House is a resource to reach out to at whatever stage in a journey somebody might be in. And I think sometimes people feel like it's this place that they're afraid of, that you only call like when you're really in an emergency situation. So I think I've shared that with several people just in the past few weeks, and I think that's important for people to realize that the Golden House team is available to help with wherever you are in your journey.
Great message. Yeah,
Great message.
we get to see that on the board and see some of those services, and it's a great opportunity to share that here. So thank you again, Sarah. Thank you, Chris, as we kind of wrap up here the first episode. We're happy, again, did I mention that we're excited to get this going here? I especially am. All right, so super excited to get this going. We're only going to kind of build on this and make it better and better. As you see this, just know it's kind of a work in progress, but we're happy to, again, just be out there and sharing information and connecting with the community. We will go ahead and point out one more time, goldenhousegb.org is our website. Through those websites, all of the information that we talked about here, kind of gathering more information, connecting. And I also want to mention, as part of the board member spotlight, we are kind of highlighting our monthly board member on the website as well. And if you are interested in kind of thanking our board member that's spotlighted, or kind of sponsoring them, if you will, happy to have a donation link there to be able to do that. And there's a comment and note section in there, so please feel free to write a thank you note. If there's something, maybe you know Sarah in this month, but or maybe you heard something there that really inspired you and you want to pass a thank you. I want to say thank you again, Sarah. Just incredible. I knew you before through work connections, but got to know you so much better over the years here as board members at Golden House, and just really appreciate everything that you've given and done over the years here with Golden House. So really incredible. And thank you for volunteering, I guess, right, for the first month here.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Doug.
All right. Thank you, Chris, again, for getting us started here this month. And we will see you again next month on the podcast.